structure we're going to be looking at today is Karen. Now, what's Karen? Karen is one of the support structures for the internal environment within the Giza system. It is this structure right here, which this being the primary Great Giza Pyramid, it is the one that is right to the east of it and is the southern eastern larger structure. It looks like this if you were to be standing at the here, I think this swivels. Does this swivel? No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Where the heck is it? Right there's the big boy, Great Giza Pyramid. So this is that support structure right there. And we're going to be talking about this channel here in just a minute. And the reason I really have this is because I needed to show you the opening right there. You know, just to show you I don't have to fabricate pieces of my understanding of the system because the pieces are already there. We went too far. I want to be, no, one more. There. The opening is right there, okay? These pieces already exist. Now you can get to these yourself. I'm just using Google Maps. Now to get there easy, we go to Karen.greatgizapyramid.com, or if you're lazy like me, you can go to the other domain that I have, ggiza.com. Okay, and you go there, and don't do it as an HTTPS. I don't pay for the S, it's HTTP. This is the inside of the structure. Now we're going to go over this, but I want to point out some things to you. This right here, that hole, that is the opening, the conduit that comes out of the area they like to call the grotto, the area I like to refer to as the cathode, the cathode within the system. It is right in here, this being the anode, where primarily oxygen comes off. This is the cathode, primarily hydrogen comes off. There are there are holes drilled in the southern wall of that room, hypothetically, according to their idea, for hiding scrolls. Even though it's a well, you're going to put scrolls in a well. Go ahead. Who makes that up? Anyway, those are conduits. They come out to here. Now that doesn't have to be a lot of water. There's not a lot of water moving. In fact, when we look at that other image, you can, well, it's easier when we look at it one down. You can see that the water here that would have been coming through the system is only going to be a splash, a trickle. It's going to be like a small stream. And because I have told you that we are working with multiple densities of water, you can understand how this right here comes into play when we look at this room, and in this room we have obvious delineations between multiple densities of liquid. Now what we're going to really look at, I'm going to point out to you right now, and I should have just done this part with a screencast, I think, but this liquid comes out, and this actually is broken into. You would have had a wedge shape here that went to the corner, and this top edge cut off. Now what this allows is within this room, when the system breathes, John Cadman says it has a pulse. I'm telling you, there's going to be that pressure pump in the bottom subterranean chambers. You're going to have other things happening within the structure, so it's going to breathe a little time. This allows the structure to have a snorkel. This right here is the snorkel to the outside world, real earth, the environment outside, what the system doesn't control. And everything is measured against the outside world. They're not using pressure gauges and stuff. They're using the outside world as the pressure gauge. It's an awesome idea, design. Anyway, as the liquid is squished out of the pyramid, it breathes out, the liquid comes in, and since it's a heavier liquid, it will fall down into the well. Okay, and then it'll be pinched off. When the system breathes in, it will then pull the lighter water from the higher elevation in to the inside. Now, it's not going to do a lot of that, because the tube from here to there is what, 300-400 feet. So, but it's only 2 inches, and I think it's really done over time. It's not like an actual breathing, but it's as the system plays. Now this, I think, when we get into where this conduit interfaces within the what they like to call the grotto, when we look at that, and I should have had this prepared. Now oh, there it is. I did have it over here. This image, no, that's not it. This image, okay, this would be the one we're looking at. It's going to, I'm assuming, going to be coming from somewhere up around here, because the way I see it in there, and I could be wrong, as soon as we get somebody to go up there with a little drone, please don't try climbing up there. Somebody went up there from Uncharted X, or one of the friends of Uncharted X, climbed up there in the beginning of 2025. They say the roof is soft, and it's not somewhere you get caught in there. That's a big problem. Send a drone. We have drones that won't hit the wall. Send drone, gets really good pictures, stereo pictures, please. Let's map this thing out before it's destroyed. But back to this. The elevation is such that it has room for, if there's too much gas, it bubbles out. You can see, I should point out to you, in this room, when the gas fills, and you got to remember, they broke through this to get in here. This came down to about, maybe half an inch above the floor line, because that would allow the liquid in the room to feel the density from outside, to feel the weight of the outside air, the weight of the outside air. But right here is a little blow hole, so when the gas came down, it would blow out. And it was done at the elevation. They don't do anything by mistake. At the elevation right here that comes across. Okay, we'll get into the communication later. These bricks on the side are communication, just like the area within the Queen's chamber. And I'm thinking that this right here and this right here represent a gas that has 2 different isomers, and this right here is another gas. But we'll work our way into that, and when we start reading the communication. But what you need to see is that this bottom floor line here and this next lip up here, this is the area, the wedge, the sandwich, that this liquid that comes out, that they're comparing to inside the grotto, the cathode room, is allowed. It's the same, this right here is the same elevation. It is allowed to come out and then go out to that channel on the outside and seep out. So on this side of the equation, you can see they're thinking on this side of the equation, there is going to be a liquid of a density which is not super dense but not super light, because it's sandwiched in there, that is going to bleed out through the system, out and down the channel, and out and wash, rinse. Well, it's not going to wash, rinse, repeat. It's just gone, okay, because the Nile River goes down. It is just gone. And this system is designed to, when there's too much gas, to pop that gas out the snorkel, okay, and the other liquids in there are going to work as a gate. And we when we really get into it, I think the pressures in here are playing with the pressures up here, which is at a different squished density, which is why it's at a higher elevation. But I'm thinking the gases here are toying with each other through the system. I mean, it's a butterfly effect. What happens here, somebody puts some gas in here, it's going to affect the elevation over there, even very slightly. But the same way we have the LHC that's running a beam of electrons held in magnets, and if somebody brings their keychain in there with a little magnet on it, it throws the whole experiment off. The whole thing is on a very thin hair, which is another reason why it's so large, so that 2 or 3 inches of play that you see in the room, that the 2 or 3 inches of play affects here probably by 1/2 to 1/4 of an inch of how it echoes through the system. And it's a very fine tune. Now you get that in line, you get this in line, you get the other one in line, you get all these things in line. There's an effect that's occurring that it's something is being manufactured, something is being made, something we don't quite appreciate. Where was I at? Oh, other things in the room. You can see that they have controls in place. What do I mean by controls? This in here, which I think we're going to find is much like the fins in the subterranean chamber, the area I like to call the anode. That right there would drip whatever the condensation is. I should learn how to master this before I make a fool of myself, right? There it is. There's a circle right up there. You can't miss it. It's easier in some other. No, I'm sorry. It's right there. Okay. You look at that one, and you look at that where it, I think, was the epicenter of condensation and dripping. It's right dead center in the room, and it would drip right about where the gentleman is standing, and then whatever would choose based on, well, if you ever watch the water drip and they play with magnetism, how it would drip. But this is outside the system, so this is really just a control and communicate. I'm babbling too much. Let's just stick with what I know instead of what I think, okay? What I know is that a liquid is coming out of here, and they're playing with the density of that liquid to ride it at this elevation. And when there's too much of it, it bleeds out of the system. And when the system breathes in and out, it's going to be burbling a little bit out of it sometimes and sucking stuff in other times. And it's going to suck in the lighter water and burble out the heavy water. With the way this is designed, you look at this other side right here, the other water is designed to sit within the system and play with the elevation, but it won't escape. The weight of that other water will stay there, and it's just the heavy water which will be able to fill into this canal and ride out. It'll never exceed that elevation because, once it does, it bleeds out. It bleeds to that gully on the outside of the system and wash, rinse, repeat. This is a switch and a control, and I'm sure there's more to it when we look at it. Well, when we model it and put it to play, I think this room may be having additional uses, maybe on the smaller scale, and I'm also not in any way dismissing that this, what I like to call the truck battery icon, is communication. And you notice it's higher on this side than it is on this side, so it's actually at an angle. You can tell by the staining of the wall there, because that is at a set elevation, and the icon is lower on this side and higher on that side, but it seems to be the same side on that side. And I think that goes more into communication. But remember, these are just a big effigy to some dead guy, right? Okay? I think that goes over the Karen room. for right now. We can get into more detail when we actually get into modeling it, and you can sit there and play with it in your own mind. Think of it, just water sitting there, and there's something is coming through that one tube. Obviously, if it's more dense than what's in the room, it's going to go down, and if it's less dense, it's going to go up. But that's not a big deal. You can see where it pools is channeled around to the side. Just look at syrup within gravy, within whatever. Just it's going across. You got the scum on the top. It goes through and vents out. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that. You can just pretend it's sand and water and oil and vinegar and stuff like that you're using in your own kitchen. Just it is a very perfectly designed machine that we do not appreciate. Thank you. Have a good day. GreatGizaPyramid.com. Share, like, subscribe. I don't know. I don't have merch to sell because I'm not trying to get your money. I'm trying to share the information. Have a good day.